Hey everyone, I'm Selena Hill, and this is the new norm on Black Enterprise, sponsored by Cadillac. On today's episode, I have the privilege to speak with award winning marketing architect, philanthropist, and community builder Rashaad Lambert. He is also the founder of the Black Excellence Society and the CultureMakers Creative Agency. Plus, he is a friend of Black Enterprise and a former 40 under 40 honoree. Rashaad, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Still under 40 too.
Still under 40. We just got to make a note. So you recently made several big announcements, which
Yeah,
includes your departure from Forbes, the
yeah,
unveiling of Black Excellence Society, the relaunch of Culture Makers,
yeah.
a new book tour, and the introduction of Nicethings Tequila Transfusion. But I want to start with your exit from Forbes, right? You were
Okay.
there, you served as senior vice president and director of culture and community. You also founded Forbes The Culture, which was
Mhm.
rebranded as Black Excellence Society. So, for those of us who don't know, what was the cause of your departure?
We made a lot of history there together. I respect a lot of folks over there. It was a lot of great opportunities for a lot of people. Um, Besides making history in that way, we were able to bring in and create opportunities for a lot of journalists, for a lot of people in general, because not just on the reporting and on the journalism side, but on the marketing side, on just across the company, we were able to make waves. And just like anything else, sometimes time expires. Things people are ready to go their separate ways, and again, shout out to them. It was a great thing that we were able to create over there, and bringing Forbes the culture there still made history. So definitely a good opportunity, but it was time to pursue other endeavors, and here we are now.
So, we see you sporting Black Excellence Society. We see the drip. Let's talk
Yeah.
about that because it started off as Forbes the Culture, now it is BES. So tell us how BES has grown or changed since it's been rebranded.
Yeah, I think that I would say when I started Forbes the Culture, the goal was to create the community that I wish existed. Right. A lot of times, especially as Black entrepreneurs, we don't often, or we didn't at that time, I guess I would say, have the community to support us in the way that some others do. So we feel like we're operating within a silo, like we're individual operators that need to be in a group. And if you know anything about us as a culture, like a lot of things that we do are best done when we do it in groups, like in a group setting. And to create those opportunities and to create what I call that qualitative, nepotism, like giving these opportunities to folks that really deserve it, and not just to whoever is closest to you or who's next in line, so to speak. Sometimes there's this king making thing. It was a great opportunity to be able to put our best and brightest in these positions of power so that we can lift as we climb. I think what Black Excellence Society and where it differs from what Forbes the Culture was at that time is that Forbes the Culture was the creation of the community, and Black Excellence Society was the creation, or is the creation, of the community business. Where the focus before was just on gathering the community and creating that foundation. And now that we have, created, we founded Forbes the Culture on the three C's, which was a connect, collaborate, and change the game. And now that we've done all that, just like I said, we made history, right? We made a lot of game changing things while we were there. We were able to get AP to update their language and stop calling us minorities and things of that nature, like things that will have lasting impact. But now the business side of how do we utilize this leverage and these things that we have created to empower others, and not just focus on how it will benefit other people individually.
Dope, dope. And, speaking of empowerment, that's something that you've been doing your entire career, especially when it comes to Black and Brown people and professionals.
Absolutely.
And I know with your new venture, your book, I want to talk about how that sort of fits into, everything you're doing and the things that you stand for. So you have a new book coming out, Guilty in the Court of Public Opinion, which addresses cancel culture, media manipulation, and the power of public perception. So that's deep. Tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about this book and just your thoughts on those issues.
Um, I would say a lot of people may not know, or I guess I would say they may not remember. But being at Forbes was not my first foray into the media game. I used to have a blog a long time ago, a music blog, and I was like connected into the early blogosphere. Most of it was based in New York, and me being based in Philly, I was kind of like a hop, skip, and a jump away from the golden era or what they call the blog era, right? And one thing that I noticed is the transformative power of media. It launched a lot of the careers of a lot of the artists that we know and love today, right? But the flip side of that is that when misused or when manipulated, and what I like to call the irresponsibility of our thumbs, when now it seems like the internet is being used for a very specific purpose, whether people think it's to crack jokes or not. There are other people on the side of those stories. So when you pick up your phone and you tweet something or you post something on your Instagram or TikTok or whatever platform you use, there's somebody that's affected by that. Even though you only know them as a name, they do exist as an actual human. So because it's kind of like turning the mirror to ourselves when we do these things, and we leave it alone. People always say that the headline is never as big as the retraction, right? When somebody puts something out there in an accusation, we see it more recently with like Jay-Z is going through it now. Like when you see these accusations that are thrown out there, the accusation was everywhere. It was all over the news. But there's some people who don't even know that what the current state of that story is, because those things are not promoted as heavily. And there are a lot of people who have had their lives ruined in an attempt to just, somebody was just making a joke maybe and ruin somebody's life and didn't really think about the fact that there was a person on the other end of that story. It was just for likes and retweets, or just for whatever profit they'll generate from shares. So yeah.
So Rashad, I know in the book you break down 10 case studies
Yeah.
of people who have been negatively affected by social media or media in
Yeah.
general. Talk about some of those case studies. I know you just mentioned Jay-Z. I don't know if he's also in the book, but
No,
if you
no,
could
he's not.
sort
He's
of,
not in the
no.
book. That's relatively new.
Okay, but if you could sort of dissect like exactly how that is hurting people and why we should care, because I think a lot of folks feel like when they take shots at someone who's famous or a celebrity or athlete, they're like, well, this person's wealthy, this person's famous,
Hmm.
they can take a joke. What's the big deal?
Yeah, and that's the thing is the jokes only go but so far, right? Some of the stories that I explore within the book are more so focused on not just how it started, but what transpired afterwards, right? There's a lot of folks who it may have started off as a joke, but when it picks up steam, you can actually harm someone or harm their career. They can lose their job. In some instances, they lost their contracts. They can lose like there's a lot of things that are tied to that one tweet or that one message that goes out. And once something goes viral and catches fire, there's nothing that you can do. You can't put the elephant back in the cage. Once it's out, it kind of has a life of its own, and that's the thing that people don't really anticipate, or more or in some cases maybe they do. A lot of times I think they don't anticipate that this is something that has an effect on this person long term, regardless of if they're famous and rich. Like, money doesn't take away your feelings, right? Fame doesn't take away your family, right? You still have people that outside of you are going to be affected by these things, and this could be something that could be to their permanent detriment, some even to the point where they may want to take their own life because of the noise that is going on outside. And one of the common things I see is people say, um, well, if you don't like it, then just, just log out, or like turn your phone off or close your phone. And it's like, when you're a person and you have, 100 followers, or when nobody knows who you are, it's actually worse if you're a celebrity, because it's magnified times 10. Now you have hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of people talking about this one thing that is continuously playing over and over and over, and it's much worse, 100 times worse, if it's not true. It's different if it's true, and you have to deal with it, then that's a whole different story. But when it's not true, that makes it much worse, because you're dealing with fighting against the court of public opinion, and,
So
and you haven't even had a chance to be tried yet.
I think when we look at big celebrities, right? We look
Mhm.
at Diddy, you mentioned Jay-Z, there's been so many others. But Jay-Z, so he beat the accusations, right? He was
Mhm.
accused of sexual assault years ago, maybe even decades ago, but the case was, I believe, dropped. Would you
Mhm.
say that just that accusation itself is hurting him, or is he, bigger than that?
It may not be hurting him, and I mean, it definitely hurt him. I will say that I do think it hurt him. It may not have hurt him long term, and definitely not as much as it would have. You see a lot of his partners stuck by him. You saw the NFL, with Roger Goodell, put out a statement saying that, that they back him in claiming his innocence. He put out a personal statement, which is not something that you often see people do in these types of situations. So I think that his situation is a little bit different, but I actually noted this recently, because I think that what happened with his situation may turn the tide a little bit.
Mhm.
A lot of times, it's very unfortunate that when it comes to things like this, that actual victims are double victims now, because when you have people that make accusations and they're false, it makes it harder for the actual victims to be heard and to be taken seriously. And that is the part that that is worse, because now, as this claim is magnified, that's the reason why people don't want to magnify this retraction, because it's a catch 22. Yes, it benefits Jay-Z for people to know that this wasn't true, but now when you magnify that this wasn't true, you also hurt the actual victims, because the next person to come forward is going to be looked at with a little bit more scrutiny before people jump on it, which honestly, I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. I think gathering all of the factual information first before jumping to a conclusion is what we should do. It's usually, you know innocent until proven guilty, but in Jay-Z's own song title, guilty until proven innocent is what has become the norm these days. As soon as somebody gets accused of something, we automatically assume that they're guilty without gathering all of the facts. And when I say we, I'm talking about the masses. And we pick up our phones and we start doing this, and the next thing you know, this person in mass is seen as guilty.
I see in the book you asked the question: are we seeking justice, or are we simply addicted to outrage?
Yeah,
What do you think?
yeah. I think that outreach. So my background is in marketing, and outreach marketing is one of the things that I have seen time and time again, that it works. It seems to work, and that's why people continue to do it. Snoop Dogg is one of them, the subjects of the book, but more recently, this was more so about his case in the past, which he was accused of murder, and he was acquitted for it. But more recently, Snoop did a campaign with a brand that was like a smokeless grill. And he put out a commercial saying, as a part of their marketing, that said, "I'm done smoking, no more smoke," right? And that was the end of it. And it was outrage marketing. Everybody's, "Oh, I can't believe Snoop stopped smoking. Oh, that's his thing." People were doing think pieces and all kinds of stuff. And then a few weeks later, he comes out and says, "I stopped smoking my grill because now I'm whatever the case may be." But that stuff works, right? And I think people are, the more and more that you see these types of things, people are becoming addicted to outrage because it's was pushed in front of them. I actually honestly don't think people know what they like anymore. I think that they're being told to like certain things. They are being programmed to like certain things. So I don't know if these are actual decisions that they're making, or if it's a decision based on what they think is going to be accepted on social media, not necessarily in the real world. That's the premise for this book, is that social media is not, in my eyes, is not the real world. It is a microcosm of what our society is, but it reflects a very small, minute, group of people, and that sort of like group think that takes place on social media is what people are playing into. And what makes it worse, and I know that some of the content creators are not going to like this part, but what makes it worse is that it's monetized now. So not only before, people say, oh, you spend all this time on the internet and you're not making any money. Now people are making money. Love to see the new funny dance craze and all of that. That's cool, right? But the flip side of it is that now people are monetizing stuff like this. Like, they are purposely throwing out these accusations. I just saw something recently where Jermaine Dupri, and I'm not saying he's doing this, but he put out a tweet that said, "What is the purpose of being an independent artist?" It's still going viral. This was days ago. People are still responding to it, and still, if Jermaine Dupri's account is monetized, he is making a lot of money off of this one tweet, right? But people do that type of stuff on purpose. Again, his is not necessarily negative. He may really have that question. I don't know why, I guess he's a legend in the game, but he may really have that question, right? But because these things continue to go on and on and on and on, they see that, oh, if I ask a question that is rhetorical, or that people know the answer to, people are going to respond to it because I have a large following and I can make money off of it. And that's regardless of what I actually, or what I say and what I actually think.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, no, I mean, it's all about profits.
yeah, absolutely.
And people
It
aren't
seems to be.
really, to your point, understanding the real impact, because they just see, a price tag attached to it. But I do want to switch gears. I want to
Yeah,
get your thoughts also on the attack we see on DEI
yeah.
from the federal government. For those of you who don't know, you were campaigning for the Kamala Harris
Mhm.
campaign, or at least promoting it very heavily on your
Yeah,
social media.
yeah.
But obviously, Trump is in office, and he
Mhm.
has been attacking DEI not only on a federal level, but he's encouraging private companies to do the same. In your opinion, how can Black media and Black organizations that depend on corporate DEI funding sustain in this landscape?
Yeah. I think that I don't necessarily think that he's attacking DEI. I think that's a dog whistle, right? We know what he's really attacking. He's attacking us, right? He's attacking people who anybody who he feels was against him is who he's attacking. He's not necessarily attacking DEI per se. But what I think is really interesting, and probably the most important thing to really remember in this time, is that a lot of those dollars that were earmarked for DEI programs and policies, those dollars are not going away. They're just being repurposed. I see a lot of boycotts too of some of these brands. When you have a person like that is in the Oval Office who is making these federal mandates, people get spooked. They get scared, right? Some of these companies never wanted to have DEI programs. I would like that's full stop, right? Some of them never wanted to have a DEI program, so this was just an easy excuse for them to get rid of them. However, there are some that really actually believed in this and really want to support us and really want to help. And the issue is that because this federal mandate makes it dangerous because of things like what Trump is doing, but then outside of Trump, you have things like what Arian just went through with a Fearless Fund, where people are getting sued for having programs. Like, people were even telling me like, oh, you should change the name from Black Excellence Society. I'm like, but why? because the mission is still the same, right? So it's the same. So it's a similar thing. I think that a lot of these companies are changing the name of these programs away from DEI, but I do not think that all of the dollars are necessarily going away. They're just renaming it. Now, in some instances, again, just like I said, just to be clear, so I don't want them to try to crucify me. Some of these companies are definitely getting rid of their DEI programming. They are cutting back on advertising dollars. They are cutting back on staffing. They are cutting back on all types of things because they built up these programs as a response to what was going on in 2020, right? Between George Floyd and Sandra Bland and all these other things that were taking place. They built these programs and it was reactive. It wasn't proactive. They never wanted to do it. So as soon as they had the opportunity to get rid of it, they did. But then there are other companies who are just from a good business standpoint trying not to put themselves in a position to be the target of a lawsuit, or I guess in certain cases to be the target of the president of the United States, which is kind of strange. So they're changing the name. So I would do so what I would say to answer your question is do a little bit more research and see where those dollars are being are being redirected to. Make sure you keep in contact with whoever your contact is there if they still have a job. And if not, I would look at other, because there are other programs that I won't necessarily say here, but there are other programs and other ways to target those same dollars without necessarily having to go through a DEI program. Because a lot of times there are projects that are bigger than what they would consider DEI. I may bring a project to a company, and just because I'm black, they may market as DEI. It may have nothing to do with DEI, right? They just market that because I'm black. I've had this happen to me numerous times, but there are other budgets and other programs and other managers within the company who are able to also give budget for programs that you may be thinking too small, right? And not I'm not saying black stuff is small. I'm just saying that those budgets that they put under DEI were already small. We were
Yep.
already what started to happen. I guess if there is a silver lining, is what started to happen is we were clawing at each other for the same very small pot of money when there are much bigger pots of money that we could target, and we just have to, no pun intended, and we have to make sure that we are widening our gaze and making sure that we're targeting these bigger dollars and not just focused on what they're pushing in front of us. Because if somebody offers you $10, it means you're worth 100. If they offer you 100, it means you're worth 1,000, and so on and so forth. So if you're going after this $25,000, then there's probably $100,000 out there somewhere waiting for you. I would just kind of go to where those places are, and it may be within the same company, it may not. Things are going to get really interesting, I'll say, over the next. It's only been 3 months, and
Yeah,
or not,
it feels
not
like
even
3 years.
Yes, exactly. And this next 3 years is, or three and a half years is going to be very different. We just got to get creative. But yeah, this is what we do best. Unfortunately, this is what we do best. We've had to be creative over time. It's the only way that we've been able to survive, right? Is by being creative with our businesses, with the type of businesses that we start, with the way that we've raised capital for our businesses. Like, we're not all, and I know some of us are fortunate in that way, but we're not all given a trust fund. We're not all given a seed, seed money, or we're not all like Donald Trump, where somebody gave us $10 million as a loan and never asked for it back, or like that. These things don't all happen to us, right? So we've had to be creative with how we do things, and this is not the first time that we've seen something like this. We saw an economic downturn in 2008, 2012. We've seen people cut programs before, and this is not his first time in office. This is seemingly much worse, much quicker, but we've seen this before and we survived that, and I know we can survive this again.
Yeah, no, to your point, we've always been resourceful And
Yeah.
there's always a workaround. There's always
Absolutely.
a way to figure it out, and Black folks do that best. Before I let you go, you have a lot of things brewing. I wanted to also talk about Nice Things Tequila Transfusion. It's again something that you've been heavily promoting. So
Absolutely.
talk about this. Is this a company that you founded, co-founded? Tell us about it.
Absolutely. So Chill Moody is the founder of Nice Things of Beverages, and I like how you did that. You said brewing. I like that. So um, Chill Moody is a hip hop artist, Philadelphia music ambassador, brand ambassador, and that's my business partner. But he founded Nice Things Beverages. He's put out 2 beers already, and we have been talking about something that we could do together. So under his brand and in partnership with him, with Jason Berger and with Jonathan Saunders, we're launching this company, Nice Things, Tequila Transfusion. Chill has a nonprofit called We Golf Now. It's getting young people, especially Black youth, into the golf space. And now we spend a lot of time on the golf course. And one of the most popular, if you've been to any golf course, the most popular beverage is a transfusion, which is traditionally made with vodka, and you also know they don't taste that good. So we decided to create our own version of the transfusion with some of the flavors, but then adding some of our flavors. So we throw in some black currant and some bergamot, some grape, ginger beer. Like, each of these flavors kind of brings it out and turns it into something completely different. So just like we are the new folks on the golf course, this is the new golf beverage for the golf course and for your summer, for any time. Is really, I'll make sure you get some. It's incredible beverage. I
How
wouldn't steal
can
you.
people buy Nice Things Tequila right now?
So you can go to nicethingsbeverages.com, place your orders there. We are currently going to be in stores in Pennsylvania, but we will be expanding wider soon.
Amazing. Anything else you want to add, Rashaad?
No, I think you covered it all. I think the one thing I do wanna add is that some of the things that you asked, like in terms of where people should look for dollars, there are things that I may not necessarily say on this platform, but if you hit me up personally, we can definitely discuss it. So on my social media is just my first and last name. Just hit me up if you have questions. If you are a small business owner, a Black business owner, and you're trying to figure out where your next grant or where your next project or how you're going to be able to keep this business funded, definitely just hit me up. I would love to help. I would love to kind of steer people towards that direction. Also, in our Black Excellence Society newsletter that goes out every month, we always have grant opportunities, different opportunities for businesses, a lot of different events where you can network and meet some of the folks. We just started our family business series, so we'll be coming to a city near you with that as well, and you'll be able to meet some of the other members and network and see how you can continue to keep this going. We're not going to let this guy stop us from growing our businesses and from continuing to elevate. And again, we get creative. This is what we do. So
I know that's right. Rashaad Lambert, always a pleasure
thank you.
speaking with you. Appreciate your time here on Black Enterprise, and we'll be following everything that you do, all the ventures.
Absolutely. I love it. Love it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I love the Black Enterprise.